name is Jared, Forensic Sales Engineer with Belkasoft. Thank you for joining us for our third BelkaCTF. The following video will show you how to solve each task the way it was meant to be solved, with the help of a few outside resources and Belkasoft X. Question 1 was username with the difficulty level of baby. What is the username used on the image laptop? So here we are in Belkasoft X. We'll select Create Case. We will name it BelkaCTF 3 Solutions. We'll store it in our Cases folder, East Coast time for myself, Jared L as the investigator, and a brief description of the case. Select Create. We want to add a data source, and we will add the E01 file that we were given. Select Open. It recognizes it as a Linux file system. We can here select carving if we would like, but we're not going to carve anything for this case. So we select Next. Now we need to select what artifacts we want to get, and we will do all of them. We will leave the hashing off. Let's go ahead and analyze for all of these pictures, and we'll leave the search for encrypted files off. We'll select Next. We're not going to update a profile, and then we select Complete. Okay, and here we are in the main dashboard, and we will select the File System tab. You'll see here that we are under the partition. We select the home directory, and the first user in the home directory and the only user is VT, and that is your flag. Question 2 is forums with the difficulty level of warm up. Which specific forums did the boss have accounts on? So here we are back in Belkasoft X. We will select the Artifacts tab. From here, we will then select the Overview tab. Once in Overview, we will hit the drop down for the browsers and select Passwords. So here we are in the Passwords artifact screen, and we will do a filter. So what we're going to do is select the funnel. We will type in forum for host name, so that will pick out anything with forum in the host name. And you see here that we have two results, and that is the THC Talk and forum.grass city. Question 3 is delivery with the difficulty level of warm-up. What was the location where the bosses ordered delivery to on October 19th, 2020? So here we are in Belkasoft X. We will navigate to the Artifacts tab, select Artifacts, back in the browsers. After selecting the drop-down, we will then select the Form Values Artifacts field. Upon selecting form values, you can see that we have field name as a column. That's going to be kind of what we're going to be looking through, as well as the values, and we will sort by creation time. So selecting the column creation time, we'll do an automatic sort by dates. Scroll down to 10/19/2020, and you do see a field name of address 1 and address suggestions. So these right here are going to be your flags. Question 4 is product with the difficulty level of hard. What equipment has the boss ordered? So back in the dashboard, we will select the Artifacts tab yet again. Upon selecting artifacts, this time we will go back to the browsers, but under the carved Chrome artifacts. And again, this is under the structured tab as shown. But this time we'll be checking out the URLs artifacts. So we select URLs, and what we're going to do here is either look through the link for eBay, We can again filter by the date 1019. So what we did here is we just scrolled down to the date. We're looking at the 3 different items that were viewed based on the URL artifacts. And so right now we have that 12-piece chemistry glassware set, the Pyrex container tube, and the Pyrex funnel chemistry lab. So now what we need to do is copy these URLs that are found in the item text viewer, open them up in a Google web search. So doing so, you'll see I have the 3 tabs open at the top. These are the 3 URLs that I pulled out. So there's your Pyrex funnel, your Pyrex container, and then the last one, the 12-piece chemistry glassware set. And if you'll notice, this is the only one that says sold. So 12-piece chemistry glassware lot is your flag. Question 5 is thumb drive with the difficulty level of tricky. What thumb drive was the boss actively using? So back in the dashboard tab, this time we will browse to the file system tab. In the file system, we will go to the home directory, back to the VT folder, and then we will select the bash history file. We can either open and save this, or we can just open it up in the internal hex viewer. So we're going to open this up to a full screen hex viewer, and then what we're going to do is do a search with this magnifying glass. So selecting the magnifying glass and typing in media in the text search field. Upon typing in media, you will see the first hit is a Kingston 3C6288A1. And looking through the surrounding hex, we also see that we find it additional 2 or 3 times just in this short piece of hex that we're able to see. So now that we know it's a Kingston is kind of what we're looking for, we're going to go back into the file system, but this time we're going to look for some sort of log file. And this is actually going to be found in the var directory under logs. Once in the logs folder, we will do a search for kern.log4.gz. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save that log file, and then we're going to load it up into a Linux virtual machine. And just log in here. See that I'm using the sans sif workstation, which is Ubuntu. So I've already saved it to the desktop and unzipped it. Doing a ls will show me what files I have in that directory. I do a strings on the file, and then a grep for USB. Now we know that we're looking for April 2nd, and we do have some USB hits, but it says new USB device found. And it gives us the vendor ID as well as the product ID. So now we need to take that vendor ID and product ID and do a Google search through a website called Device Hunt, where we will enter in the type, where you can choose between PCI or USB. We know that it's 0951 and 16B3, which is identified as a Kingston Technology HyperX Savage. So now doing a quick Google search for Kingston HyperX Savage will give us the color of the USB that we need to finish our flag. Okay, and as you can see here, it's red and black. Question 6 is CRM with the difficulty level of baby. What is the URL of the Syndicate CRM system? So back in dashboards, again, we will navigate to the artifacts tab. We will stay in the structure viewer. we'll head back to the Browser's Artifacts tab underneath the E01 file. This time we will look through the Image 1, Chrome Artifacts, and the Favorites Artifacts tab. So selecting Favorites, we do get this list of links and URLs. So as you'll notice here, we do have a lot of .onion links. So what we'll do is just sort them so we can put them all together. Okay, so we see them all here, and they're all just kind of randomly generated. There's a few words, but then this one right here is dope dough. So no real description, kind of seems custom built. So this is actually going to be your flag. And going back out and selecting it, this will be the URL that we need for the flag. Question 7 is password with a difficulty level of tricky. What is the password to the Syndicate CRM system? Okay, so this time the password cannot be found in Belkasoft X. We're going to have to use some outside resources. So here we're using Access Data FTK Imager. So now what we want to do is select File, Create Disk Image. So what we're going to here is take our E01 image file and use that as the source. Then we will browse to our source, make sure that we select the E01. And from here, it's going to say, where do you want to store the image? So we select Add. It's like, okay, well, we want it to be a DD. This is important. We need it to be a raw image format. You can name it whatever you want. Select Next. Where do we want to store the image? And what do you want to name the image? Now you'll see here the image fragment size is automatically defaulted to 1500. We want this to be 0. We do not want to fragment the image. So from here we select Finish and Start. So we are converting this E01 to a DD image within FTK. Okay, so now we need to create the virtual machine. So what we're going to do is go into Edit Virtual Machine Settings, and you'll see I've already done this, and I've got a 40 gigs of pre-allocated space. And I named my virtual machine BelkaCTF 3. So now I'm going into Edit Virtual Machine Settings, and what you'll do here is add a hard disk that's 40 gigs pre-allocated. So I've already done that, but you need to make sure that you do that. And then you'll also notice here that it says hard disk contents are stored in a single file. You want to do this. You want it to be a single file. So you select OK. And so what you're going to do is actually replace the flat file that comes along with the VM with that converted DD image. So once you do that and load it in, it will actually load up the user screen for VT. So what we need to do is restart. We need to hold down the Shift key and press Restart. This will bring us into the Grub menu. We select Advanced Options for Ubuntu. Go down to Recovery Mode. And once we're in recovery mode, we'll get this list of options. Now we need to go down to the root menu where we can drop a root shell prompt. From here, we'll press Enter to enter maintenance mode. We will do a passwd for VT, so this is going to allow us to enter a new password. So set this password to something that you will remember, and then type it again. And you will get a password updated successfully. So now we need to press Ctrl D and then resume. It says you're going to exit recovery mode. Are you sure? You select OK. You're back to the login screen. You enter your newly updated password. And now you are in the desktop. So what we're going to do is go to the Brave web browser. We want to see if he has any stored passwords in his settings. So we go to Settings, go down to Advanced or Additional Options, scroll down until we can see Passwords. We will select it, and it looks like he does have some saved passwords here. So we can select the eye icon on all of these. And it looks like he kind of uses kind of the same password over and over again. There are a few that are a little different. So we're just going to take the first one. You'll see it's Moneybaker, money, 024. So we'll copy that. And he actually has a KeePass application on his desktop. So we're going to try to use that password that we just found in browsers to get into this. We can view it again, say, yep, this is the password. We select OK, and it actually got us in. So now we have many more passwords, and there's Dope. That's what we were looking for. And as you can see, we've got this kind of looks like a randomly generated password. So what we're going to do is copy that password. Question 8 is Big Client, difficulty level of hard. What is the name of the nightclub the syndicate was providing drugs to in bulk? So here we are back in the Brave browser, and we're going to take that password again, throw it back into that KeePass database, view it. Okay, that's the password we need. We'll scroll back down to Dope. What we can do is click this, and we can copy the username or copy the password. Because it's v.macron, we're probably just going to type that in and copy the password. So let's go into the Brave browser. We'll type in the Dope URL. And we'll select it and says it's blocked. Open this in Tor. So we're going to open it up in Tor. Take a second to load. Okay, now we're in. So now what we need to do is type in the password, which it looks like it didn't actually copy. So I'm going to type it in. And we'll use v.macron. Okay. So now we are in. So what we want to do is select the backup option. We need to type in our email address. So put in your email address, and then what records do you want to start at and what records do you want to end at. So I'm going from the very first record all the way to the very last record. And I select backup. And it'll say, okay, the email has been sent, check. So now I go into my email, I download the backups.zip. As you can see here, I've got all of these grid coordinates. So I'm actually going to copy those grid coordinates out, and I will throw them into a text document called chords.txt. So from here, I'm back in my SIFT workstation. I want to push my chords.txt into my SIFT workstation. I just threw them into the same folder, and then we've also created a PHP script. So from this location, I'll open a terminal, and I'll just kind of show you what this PHP script looks like. So it's basically saying, you know, take coordinates.txt and then round the latitude and longitude to a 0.3 location. So what this is going to do is kind of group and count based on the amount of occurrences. So we'll do PHP process.php, and so from here, now what we're going to do is push all the results to a text file called results1.txt. So then I can do a vi or vim on results1.txt, and you can see that the top hit is actually 77 occurrences at this latitude and longitude. So we copy this, we open this up in Google Maps, and if I were to do a search for those coordinates, you'll see it brings us in real close to this building. So selecting this building, you'll actually see that Embassy Nightclub is a part of that building, and that is your flag. Question 9 is hosting with the difficulty level of tricky. What is the IP address their CRM system is hosted at? So this one, all we have to do is go back to where we received that email from the CRM. We will select Show Original, and right off the bat at the top, it'll say Fail with IP. And this IP is actually going to be your flag, but another way that we can look at it is actually in the header. So we will scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see that it was received from 49.12.108.254, and that is your flag. Question 10 is tranche with difficulty level of tricky. What are the cryptocurrency wallet addresses the boss had transferred salary to in the last batch? So back in Belkasoft X, we will navigate to the Artifacts tab, and this time we will select the Blockchain Wallets artifact. See, we have 16 hits, and these are your artifacts. So one thing that we can do is, one, we can either show on structure one of these artifacts and just kind of see where this originated from. So we do see that it came from a wallet.dat in the structured tab. So under mobile applications, we see the Bitcoin wallet.dat artifacts. And from here, we can see the same artifacts we were just seeing, but then we can right click and show on file system. So where is this residing on the file system? Okay, now that we are at the origin, we see that this came out on the file system. We have wallet.dat. So now what we're going to need to do is copy this wallet.dat out of Belkasoft X, and then what we'll do is have to download a application called Bitcoin Core. So once we've downloaded it, we can add the wallet.dat, and you'll see that there are only 4 sent transactions with labels. So corresponding labels, Gavin, Brobro, Derek, and T1000. The associated wallets to those transactions will actually be your flags. Question 11 is retrospective with the difficulty level of hard. What cryptocurrency wallets did the boss transfer salary to in February? So back in Belkasoft X, this time we're going to jump straight into the file system from the dashboard. We will again navigate to the home directory and then the VT directory. So within the VT directory, we will again select the bash history. And we're going to want to open this checked file either in a text document editor or a notepad editor, and we're just going to search for shred. So searching for shred kind of gives us an idea that they shredded a wallet at one point, and this is actually a Unix timestamp that we'll copy out, and we will open up a application called decode. Entering that in, we can actually see that in Unix UTC that this is actually April 2nd, 2021. So what we're going to do now, again that we see that it was shredded, we need to see if there was a new wallet, because we do have a wallet in our file system. So we can see that there was actually mention of copying an old wallet to a new wallet before shredding it. So because it's shredded, it's possible that there are still fragments of this old wallet contained in the image. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out, what can we find in this wallet.dat that we can use to search across the whole image to carve out potential artifacts or fragments of the previous wallet.dat. So what we'll do is we'll do a search through hex. So doing a search through hex, the first thing that we're going to want to do, timestamp's not a part of it. can't find a part of timestamp. So I think what we need to do here is either manually scroll and see if we can find some reference to it. And you'll see here I had some previous bookmarks already. So now I can either click this little button and jump directly to my bookmarks. Okay, so it's actually Time Smart that we want to look for. So I do a search utilizing my magnifying glass. I type in Time Smart and I've found my hits. So from here I can bookmark these Time Smarts, and it looks like they all have similar attributes. So it's going to be that 0974 in hex followed by a 043136. So that seems to be pretty common throughout this wallet.dat, as you can see here. So this seems like something that we should be able to find by carving out of the DD image that we converted earlier. So let's copy this hex. As you can see here, like I had mentioned, they do match. So you got the 72, 72, and 72. Right there in the middle is just kind of a identifying way to grab these artifacts. So now what we'll do is we'll copy as hex, and we can either search for the converted file, the converted DD file. We can either load it up into Belkasoft X, or we can load it into a hex viewer of your choosing. You'll see that we have the file loaded. We can do a search through this hex for that hex that we pulled out earlier. And again, we can either go by text or TimeSmart. So here you can see it's pulled up in a different viewer, but we were actually able to find TimeSmart. And then the timestamps that you see here are actually in February, which you can use decode date. So here you can see the bro. We know that those are the labels that we found earlier and the associated wallets. So now what we have here is kind of a match. We know that they're using labels, we know that they're using timestamps, and we know that the wallets are associated. So digging through the old fragments we found, we find these wallets with these labels. Now, we need to pick the ones out that are associated with February. And then the Bras Valentine, you'll have to check the date timestamp.